После того, когда человек подвергался заражению соответствующими бактериями, его лечили в тюрьме отряда или нет? А после того, когда он выздоравливал, что с ним происходило?
相当長き期間を置きました後に、また他の実験に供されるのが常であります。
И так делалось до смерти человека?
そういうことになります。
The person being questioned was called Kiyoshi Kawashima, the director of the Bacterial Production Department under Unit 731 of the Japanese Imperial Army during the Second World War. The subjects referred to were human beings: men, women, elders, children, civilian, military. Chinese, Russians, Koreans, and Mongolians were all targeted. And the experiments conducted, well, were of pure evil. Frostbite tests, live dissections, bacteriological experiments, poison gas experiments, human-animal blood exchange experiments. These were but tip of the iceberg. That made Unit 731 one of the most reviled divisions in the Japanese military, and one of the darkest stains on human history. Harbin was an important stronghold of the Japanese during the Second World War. Here, Japan established one of the most anti-human war machines. In August 1932, 11 months after Japan started its invasion of China, an officer of the Japanese Imperial Army arrived in the war-torn Northeast China. His name was Shiro Ishii. Aggressively anti-China and well-versed in biological warfare, Ishii advocated building the Japanese Army's germ research center in the land just conquered. He gave 4 reasons. 1. It's easier to obtain large numbers of non-Japanese human test subjects. 2. In the event of an uncontrollable outbreak, the risk could be offloaded onto the local population. 3. It would facilitate the deployment of biological weapons against China and the Soviet Union. 4. To meet the demands of deployment against the Soviet Union, the experiments needed to be conducted in cold climate. Here are 2 records of Ishii's travels to China. That's Ishii's last name in Chinese characters. By 1933, Ishii's request was granted, and the research center was established in Harbin's Nangang district. And in 1936, it was moved to Harbin's Pingfang district. Unit 731 was born. For nearly a decade after that, countless experiments were conducted here. At least 3,000 people were used for experiments as human guinea pigs. More than 300,000 people in China were killed by the biological weapons. Today, a museum stands where Unit 731 was, exhibiting the evidence of all the atrocities that took place here. So this is what Unit 731 looks like when it finished construction. You see that white building in the middle of it. That's where the main actions took place. The 2 buildings with the green rooftops, one of them hosted male subjects, the other female. I asked my guide if anybody ever got out of there, and she said no. You see that building, it's modeled as if it only has 3 floors, but in fact, it's about 5 floors high as of today's standard. And its interior is built according to, based on German structures. It's entirely impossible for anybody who get locked up in there to get out. Take a guess at what this is for. It's a bone amputation saw. This? It's called the viscera rack. It's for hanging the subject's internal organs.
看護の土間で2人の男が後ろ手に分かれて目隠しされて、そして 座っているとこへ連れて行かれたんです。やがてその司法法律の拳銃を抜いて僕の目の前でその二人の男のお腹にパンパンパンパン2発ずつ撃ったんですね。10人の軍医が一人を掴んで別室へ行って手術演習を始まるんです。それでそこでやった手術はもっぱら弾を取るのが主だったんですが、手が空いてる人はみんな切断術やったし、あるいは気管切開も行っておりました。
731部队最为核心的罪行是人体实验。为了加快实施细菌战的进程，731部队用健康活人进行大规模的实验，这完全背离了国际公约，也违反了生命伦理和医学准则，是人类文明史上最为黑暗的一页。那当时他们进行人体实验有很多种，但无论是哪一种，最终都会完成这样的人体实验报告书。被实验者在送进731部队之后，便没有了自己的名字，取而代之的都是人形图左上角这样的数字编号。731部队称这些被实验者为马路大。那马路大是日语的音译，原意为剥了皮的木头原木。那对他们来说是可以随意切割的材料。可见他们根本没有把被实验者当作一个人来看待。
Our guide told us that these colored dots in the drawing were the effects of bacterial infections on human bodies. They even hired professional Japanese artists to draw the subjects on site during the vivisection. Bacteria are things that can't be seen by naked eye. But at Unit 731, it was measured in kilograms. Kiyoshi Kawashima confessed that the division was armed with advanced equipment for cultivating bacteria. Every month, Unit 731 could produce 300 kilograms of plague bacteria, or 500 to 600 kilograms of anthrax bacteria, 800 to 900 kilograms of typhoid or paratyphoid bacteria, or 1,000 kilograms of cholera bacteria. If dispersed scientifically, 3 grams of bacteria could contaminate 8 square kilometers of water sources. In full capacity, Unit 731 was capable of wiping out all humanity. With that kind of firepower, Unit 731 became a crucial piece in Japan's war machine. Shiro Ishii had a very specific rationale for building Unit 731. The era where the war only depends on strength has passed. The wars in the future must be science wars, and the germ warfare is especially important. Therefore, we must make efforts to study the germ weapons. Making the biological weapons not only saves money and raw materials, but also has immeasurable lethality, which is great news that kills 2 birds with 1 stone to Japanese empire that suffers from economic crisis and lacks steel. He did put it into exercise.
731部队使用细菌武器第一次就是1939年的诺曼罕战争，在中苏边界实施了细菌武器的攻击。然后呢，从1940年到1942年，在中国的浙江、江西、常德等地大规模的实施了细菌战，主要是鼠疫霍乱。然后在云南等地也实施了细菌武器的攻击。在中国的大部分，因为从二战期间，日本在中国不仅有731部队，在哈尔滨有731部队，长春有100部队，北京有1855部队，南京有1644部队，在广州设立了8904部队，和新加坡设立了9420部队，形成了一个全方位的侵华的细菌战网络体系，所以在中国各地都实施了细菌战和细菌武器攻击。
This is the map of all the germ warfare Japanese deployed against the Chinese during the Second World War. As you can see, each of the different dots represents a different kind of bacteria. The circles, these are the plagues. The triangles, that's typhoid fever. The squares, where are the squares? The squares. In Shandong, that's the cholera. And you can see the diamond over here. That's Enlighteners. It's mostly on the East Coast, but also you can see over there at the Southwest, they are also deployed. So this gives you a general impression of just how severe the biological warfare the Japanese had waged against China. Quzhou, East China's Zhejiang province, occupied an important strategic position in Japan's invasion of China. Unit 731 was ordered to take the city. In October 1940 and between April to August 1942, the Japanese military conducted 2 large-scale biological attacks against it. Furuto Yoshio was a former aide-man of Unit 731. This was his testimony about one of the attacks.
The task for our expedition team was infecting the reservoir, wells, and buildings with typhoid and paratyphoid. They put the bacteria into empty bottles which were originally filled with digestion factors. Then they put these bottles into boxes and wrote water supply on the boxes, and then transported them to Nanjing City by air. We took out some bacteria from the glass bottles and then put them into the light iron bottles, which were normally filled with drinking water, while keeping the remaining portion in the glass bottles. Then we packed these light iron bottles and glass bottles together into the boxes and transported the boxes to the place we planned to attack. We would throw the light iron bottles and glass bottles into wells, marshes, and villages. The empty glass bottles, which were originally filled with protein digestion factors, were prepared for manufacturing special liquid for bacteria reproduction.
Nearly 9,300 people died during these attacks in Quzhou. Similar things happened at Changde in central China. At 5:30 on November 4, 1941, the head of the aviation squad of Unit 731, Masuda Yoshiyasu, took off in a light aircraft from Nanchang Airport. When he flew over the Changde area at 6:50, he airdropped 1.6 kilograms of plague-infected fleas and other bacteria-contaminated items such as cloth, silk, paper, beans, and wheat. There's Yoshiyasu, third from the left. This is a photo of the Unit 731 aviation squad.
像我们那个村子里头，就是细菌战受害者有10个，其中大部分都是些码头工人。3天之内，这些码头工人全部死亡。全家当时来说呢，是也12口人，也12口。我父亲那时才31岁，我叔叔才29岁，2个都是轻装的，正好正老的，结果2个都去世了。我的爷爷就熬夜的哭，伤心的不得了，结果哭把一双眼睛哭瞎了。
I asked Mr. Jing how exactly was the German warfare conducted. Were they simply causing mass casualties for the sake of causing mass casualties?
日本细菌部队其实是为了常规部队的作战进行配合作战的实施的。与细菌攻击配套而行的就是它的防疫体系。所以731部队也叫防疫给水部嘛，它进行细菌攻击之后呢，它马上就会派组建防疫部队当地进行防疫，就进行杀菌灭菌，然后把感染鼠疫的人进行实验解剖。所以1940年的那个新京农安鼠疫，新京就是今天的长春，就是当时731部队在当地进行了鼠疫攻击之后呢，然后当地爆发了鼠疫，之后呢，他们又以防疫的名义到当地进行扑灭这些鼠疫，然后对人员进行解剖，后来形成了人体实验的报告书。他们这样一个行为是日本细菌战的细菌武器攻击与防疫是形成一种互补的这样一个模式。
Sometimes we think of Unit 731 as a separate entity, but in fact, it's a whole structure of biological warfare waged by Japan. It goes all the way up to the emperor, up at the top. So this is a systematic effort by the Japan during the Second World War against China, and sometimes not just against China, but against all its enemies. This is the Japanese emperor's direct order in 1936. It dictated setting up an unit specialized in biological weapons and epidemic prevention.
当时日本是在总体战的这个理念下，所谓总体战呢，就是调动日本国内的一切资源。总体战不是日本实施的，是一战期间就有的，调动日本的一切的资源，不仅包括医学资源，医学资源只是其中的一部分，包括医学生人才资源，还有产业资源，全部调动起来进行服务侵华战争。所以说，七三幺部队的组建与扩张是日本军产官学一体化的表现形式，就是军队。医学界、学界、政府，形成产业化裹挟到一起，形成了这样七三幺部队的一个组建、扩张和日本新军战在中国的实施。
No snowflake in an avalanche ever feels responsible. I bet you know the saying. When there are too many people involved in an action, the individuals feel little personal accountability for the outcome, even if they played a part in it. There was a special group of people operating at Unit 731. They were called Gishi. The literal English translation is technician, but their other titles are more specific: doctor, professor, researcher, scholar. Yes, you heard that right. There is no accurate tally of how many technicians there were at Unit 731. According to a revelation in 2024, there were 57 technicians operating there between February 1944 and August 1945. They were the core of this unit. This man, Toda Shozo, was twice the head of the medical department at Kyoto University. And here is his research report for Unit 731. 8,000 yen for cold weather gear research. 7,000 yen to study the sanitation of the unit's locale. In total, more than 250 million yen of research fund was dispensed. Shozo's belief was that medical experts should also contribute to Japan's invasion of the Manchuria region. Toda Shozo was once Shiro Ishii's teacher. And here is Ishii, in the middle, surrounded by well-known professors from all over Japan. A lecturer wrote in his diary,
"The professor seems to have an agreement with the military. He suddenly ordered us to go to Manchuria and provide technical support to the army. Abandoning my ongoing research, on which I had worked very hard, was very painful to me. So I said no. But the professor said, 'How dare you refuse, given Japan's climate today? You are being treasonous. If you don't go to the army, I won't allow you to study under me anymore.'"
我们将七三幺部队的罪行呢，就是人体实验和细菌战，定性为日本自上而下有规模、有组织的国家犯罪和集团犯罪。为什么说是集团犯罪呢？就说日本的医学界、政界、军队全部参与其中。比方说，从行业上来说，日本医学界的包括京都大学、京都医科大学、东京医科大学都参与其中。
为什么他们医学界的人会参与进来？因为在我们传统的感觉说，教授啊或者这种医学生，他们相对比较有道德一些吧。但是这个明显是一个比较反常识的一个事情。
就是二战期间呢，日本是在一个总体战的理念下实施对华战争的，所有日本的医学界全部在裹挟到战争中。一方面呢是通过制度政策让他们参与到侵华战争中，另一方面是他们以个人也有意愿来到七三幺部队，以所谓的科学研究的名义来参与侵华战争，是这样的一个形式。
那当时他们来参加的时候，他们会收到报酬吗？
对呀，他们会以一种主托的身份来到七三幺部队。所谓主托就是委托他们承担一项科研项目，就是所谓的科研项目，就是比如说东商实验的实验班班长。吉村寿人就是主托的身份来到七三幺部队，委托他实施东商实验。
那他像这种是部队跟大学有协议，还是直接找到他们个人？
是部队，不是七三幺部队与大学有协议，是日本，在统一动员的他医学界的力量来参与七三幺部队，不是个人之间的行为。
所以那可以说他们是主动过来的吗？
对啊，是日本国家动员，也是他们个人有意愿参加七三幺部队的。
那当时是一种，就大家是一种什么心态呢？是被鼓吹的这种集体反华、集体来做，还是他们就是我抱着医学的态度来，但是就是用医学作为一个掩盖的借口吧，来掩饰自己其实在犯罪的这种心态？
人体实验就是如果是正常的人体实验是需要有知情权的，是符合医学伦理的，但731部队的人体实验是没有知情权，全部都是强迫的实施的，从人体实验的设计到实验到细菌武器的制造，一系列全是他们系统规划好的，是一种反人类的暴行。所以当时呢，他们这些人呢，一方面是受着日本军国主义思潮的这种裹挟，另一方面呢是自己认为我来做这个实验，我就是为国家为侵华战争服务的，他们心中有这个为国家服务的这个意念，所以他们也来到了731部队。所以这些人呢，我们还是这些人，就是虽然他们被了国家的政策所裹挟，但是他们他们自己的内心也是有这种犯罪行为的。
1925年签署的日内瓦议定书里面就明确规定了，禁止任何国家从事这种细菌研究工作。其实你自己国家研究这个细菌是正常的，但是呢，日本它是用我们国家的人然后做实验，所以说这个是违反国际公法的。如果他要是合规合法的话，他没必要去炸毁，在临走的时候又杀，又烧又炸。把这个整个的细菌实验和这个人体实验的核心都炸没了。8月15日他们宣布投降，8月9日凌晨他们得到了撤退的命令。因为731部队太重要了，提前接到撤退命令以后，他们炸毁了整个这个建筑，然后烧毁了研究资料，然后这个杀死被实验者。但是其中就是把这个最重要的人体实验报告书留下了。然后开着飞机，石井四郎他的女婿，然后开着飞机将石井四郎这些高官和这些重要的资料，然后呢逃回了日本，然后其他的队员都是通过火车逃回去的。所以说逃回去之后，进行了日美交易。731部队在回国以后，然后美国得到消息之后，迅速就和日本高官还有731部队的队长，像这个石井四郎，还有北野正次进行沟通，就说要对他们进行审判，进行这个东京审判嘛，但是石井四郎就把这个最重要的这部分资料交给了美国，然后美国就以此来庇护了他们战争的这个责任，所以说在东京审判上，731部队没有一个人受审，反而呢，他们在回国之后都是担任了要职，什么大学的校长、医院的院长，是这样。
Here is a list of the post-war service condition of the known former Unit 731 members. After the war, they went on to become professors, director of hospitals, lecturers at medical colleges, health officials in government. I was told that none were punished, and no one admitted to what they did. This used to be the boiler room. When Unit 731 fled Harbin, this was one of the buildings they tried to destroy. All that's left now is this bombed-out wall, now an iconic structure, standing as a reminder of what once happened here. When the Second World War ended, a Nazi officer was put on trial. His name was Otto Adolf Eichmann, an officer of the Schutzstaffel, a key paramilitary organization in Nazi Germany. During his trial, German-American historian Hannah Arendt made the following observations. Whatever he did, as far as he could see, as a law-abiding citizen. He did his duty, as he told the police and the court over and over again. He not only obeyed orders, he also obeyed the law. The trouble with Eichmann was precisely that so many were like him, and that the many were neither perverted nor sadistic, that they were and still are terribly and terrifyingly normal. From the viewpoint of our legal institutions and of our moral standards of judgment, This normality was much more terrifying than all the atrocities put together. Couldn't that observation be applied to Unit 731 and those who are still hiding their past atrocities from the world? Militarism corrupted many people. It turned lifesavers into butchers, enlighteners into torturers. Militarism was the source of evil. But that doesn't exonerate those who did the unspeakable. It doesn't give them the right to hide their past, perched on their splendid thrones built on blood and bones, living their lives in normality. If they escaped justice, how can we show the future generations that following evil is no different from enabling it? Driven by the wrong reasons, humans are capable of great atrocities. Militarism is anti-human, anti-civilization. It means extreme cruelty and callousness towards human lives and dignity. And it never died. Those who escaped justice and risen to high places kept that dangerous ideology alive. And that's why we need to keep talking about them, putting those events on display for the future generations. It is not an accusation. It is a warning to every single one of us that if we aren't careful, how easy it could be for people to be swept away by that tide and become butchers again.